moviegoers, and welcome back to my channel. So as you saw by the title, today we're going to be talking about It Chapter 2. The long-awaited horror movie, at least my long-awaited horror movie of the year. I've been waiting for this one ever since 2017 when I saw the first one. I am going to talk some negative stuff about the film because the film is not perfect. It Chapter 2, I think that's something that I need to say straight off the bat. The movie was not perfect, but it was good. It wasn't bad at all. But it wasn't perfect. There were a few flukes along the way, and that's what I'm gonna talk about today. Now, I wanna start off by saying, I'm gonna start with the bad, and then I'm gonna go with the good to end on a good note. The film as a whole story, as in like the storyline, where the script is going, where the story's going, how it's gonna end, it wasn't very good. The pacing of the film. The pacing of the film was off in a few moments where I wish they would have fixed that. For example, there's moments that feel rushed when they should take a little step back and maybe give a little bit more depth into that scene. For example, the whole beginning of the film is seeing the adult version of the kids, as you saw in the trailers, where their lives are now, what they're doing now after that whole event 27 years ago. And a few of the characters had really interesting stories, really interesting lives, and I wanted to see a little bit more of that. And that felt a little rushed. Actually, the whole beginning of the film, from getting introduced to the adult version of these kids to getting to Derry, Maine, felt really rushed. I wish they would have stayed a little more there to give a little more like character depth into these characters that I saw grow up in 2 years, literally. Like the last one was 2017, 2019. There's a 2-year difference, so I do want to see a little bit more. Also, there's moments that felt dragged when I felt they should have done a little bit quicker. For example, if you saw the original 1990s miniseries and or read the book, you know that there's a very famous scene in the Chinese restaurant. That whole scene is where we finally get to see everybody, all the adults coming together, meeting before the entire movie happens, or the entire rest of the story happens. That scene felt a little too long. It was a little way too long, but at the same time, I do understand that that is the point where they meet up, so we got to get a little bit of introduction, let's see them together for a little bit. I just felt that they did it for a little too long. It felt a little too dragged before I get to the good part of that scene. They should have gone a little bit quicker to get to the good scene, settle them in Maine, and then continue with the story. That was one of the issues that I had, the pacing. Now, the second issue that I had was the flow of the story. Something that I loved about the first movie is how smooth scene to scene feels. But the problem with this one is the flow between scene to scene, from seeing them divide and then come back together, didn't feel fluent. Like the original one, the flow was so good. Like it was just smooth. But this one, there was a few scenes that just felt too abrupt, and like it transitioned from here to there to there to here to there to here to one kid is going all the way over there while Jessica Chastain is going all the way over, Beverly is going all the way over here, then Billy has to go over here, but then Ben, it gets a little bit convoluted and it doesn't feel as smooth as the first one did it, which is one of the things I loved about it, is that those transitions were very smooth. In this movie, they feel kind of very abrupt. I don't know if it's an editing issue, if it's a story issue. I don't know, it just felt a little bit abrupt to me. Also, one more bad thing that I didn't enjoy as much. The whole story with one of the antagonists of the film. I won't say who it is. His kind of development wasn't that great. I didn't like what they did with that antagonist. He had so much potential to be a lot scarier than it was shown, and they didn't do that well. I didn't like how they did it. I didn't like the person they chose to be him. He acted great. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't like it that much. But yeah, one of the antagonists. It's very clear, and those who know, you know. But yeah, that antagonist wasn't very good. So that's kind of what I didn't like about the film. Now, what I loved about the film, what made me fall in love with this film, because I do love this film. I love it so, so much, even though it has that fault. What made me love this film so much was the acting, the performances. Because of those performances, you literally become invested in these characters. For example, Bill Hader as Richie. Oh my God. He was so good. Probably the highlight of this film is him and Bill Skarsgård. I'll talk about Bill in a second. But he was so good as Richie in this movie. His story arc, his personality, the way how they finished the movie with him, you know, the ending of his story arc. I already said that, whatever. It was just great. I loved Bill Hader in this movie. Jessica Chastain as well. Fantastic as Beverly. James McAvoy, great job. The other kids, amazing job. All the performances were so good that they made me fall in love with these characters all over again. And I loved it. I connected with these characters. And when you see the ending of the film and what happens, at least I personally felt invested in what happened and kind of like fatigued and tired. And like I was kind of feeling those kind of same emotions that they were at that moment. And that's what I loved about this film. Also, Bill Skarsgård, again, coming in clutch as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. He was amazing in this movie. I was so impressed on what he did in the first one. And in this one, he just gives more gold and just keeps scaring the viewers. Like everybody in the theater, when they saw Pennywise, they were uneasy. And that's what's so great about Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. He is hands down one of the best parts of this movie. Also, I was so surprised how about the adults look like their younger counterparts. Like, I'm just going to show you the pictures here. Here's Beverly Marsh as an adult and as a kid. Jessica Chastain, and I forgot the little girl's name. It's literally the same face. No. You guys got to see Eddie. Eddie, the little kid that was a germaphobe. Look at that. They're the same person. Even Bill Hader and Richie. Look at that. They look the exact same. Get this. The Old Spice guy. Yes, that is the Old Spice guy, in case you didn't notice. Bam! They look like them. It's so crazy. I was so impressed on how well they were able to make these characters look the same as kids and as adults. Now, obviously, this is a horror movie. So we gotta talk about the scares. The scares in this movie were actually kind of good. Not all of them. Some of them felt a little like, okay, I get that. Like, that's not that scary. But there were moments in this film where I was genuinely scared. There's a specific scene involving a bridge and balloons. That's all I'm saying. You saw that in the trailers. That scene kind of frightened me a little bit. It got me a little bit. I wasn't expecting it. There's a scene, the one we saw in the trailer, in the trailer reaction, the one with the old lady, the old naked lady. That scene wasn't very easy to watch. I'll let you guys watch it. That one wasn't great. The horror scenes were great. Like I said, Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, amazing. The scares were good. Not all of them, but most of them were genuinely impactful. And I was genuinely terrified. So, yeah, the scares were great. Also, the comedy in this film. Oh my gosh, this movie was funny. Obviously, the comedian master here is Bill Hader, and he was great. He was genuinely funny in this film. And because of him and little other tidbit moments, small moments, this movie has actually turned out to be really funny as well, which is great comic relief from all the horror and all the gore and all the blood we get to see from Pennywise. So that was great too. Also, the conclusion. The ending of the film, for me, felt satisfying. Obviously, I'm not going to say what happened or if it's a good ending or a bad ending, but I was satisfied with the ending. I liked how they finished it off. I liked what they did with all the characters. It just felt great. And there's a few cameos in this film. I want to tell you this so you guys can keep an eye out. There's two very blatant cameos that you see. Blatant, am I using that word right? I hope I am. Like very obvious cameos, that's what I meant to say. There's two very specific cameos here. One is in a little antique shop, so you guys can actually look out for them when you see the movie. One is in an antique shop, and one is when the adult version of Eddie is getting his medicine. That's all I'm saying. That's not a spoiler. There's no after credit scene at all. Obviously, this is the last movie, so no more after this. This is the very last one. And I'm going to give it 4 Pennywise dancing clowns out of 5. I really did love this movie. It does have its faults. It does have things that I didn't love, that I didn't like. But overall, I loved how they finished the story. I loved the acting. I loved the characters. I loved the conclusion. I loved this movie. But obviously, as a reviewer, I can't give it a perfect score because for me, it wasn't a perfect movie. It was a good movie. Anyways, that's been my review. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified every single time I post a video, which is not often, but bear with me. Come on, guys. Yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.